So permit me to just share my slide. Samuel, are you there?
Christiana, do you want me to share? Do you want me to share on the?
Yes, it's not allowing me to share. Okay, kindly help me to do that.
Okay, okay. Let me, and then you tell me if you are. Just a moment.
I think someone have to grant their permission.
No, no, it's okay. Wait, just wait.
Okay.
Just wait a moment. Can you see my slides? Can you see it, guys?
Yes, I can see it.
You can see it.
Yeah.
Want me to put in the presenter
the one on
mode?
the cloud. The one on the cloud.
It's the same. It's in the same.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Or do you see some changes? It's the same normally.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we can start now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, using your PhD application at UM6P. So my name is Christiana Tsilopo-Ewale from the School of Collective Intelligence, Master First Year. So tonight I'll be the moderator together with Samuel from School of Collective Intelligence too. We are both ambassadors for the UM6P. So introducing, next slide, please. Introducing to you UM6P. I know some of us are familiar with the word UM6P, but UM6P means Mohammed VI Polytechnic University. It is popularly known as UM6P. When you're looking for an institution with good figure in education, you will see UM6P. UM6P have 16 faculties and schools with 38 academic programs, where 59% are female students, and international students at 55%, with 33 nationality. Then we have more than 5,000 full-time students. There are mainly two campuses in the Rabat campus and Bengeri. The next slide. Thank you. So more about UM6P. When you're talking about research, innovation, and entrepreneurship, UM6P is one of the best that can give you that experience that you're looking for in research, in innovation, and in entrepreneurship. So for research, UM6P have more than 3,000 scientific publications, which is since 2017. And UM6P have more than 240 permanent faculty, more than 720 PhD students, and approximately 300 research projects. UM6P have more than 100 research partners. There are 60 entrepreneurship support programs. There are more than 20,000 people have been impacted through UM6P. UM6P have more than 500 project owners and startups they support. UM6P also have more than 150 startups that have been created. UM6P is highly involved in 15 African countries. The next slide. So from the from the flyer, that's the poster, you have seen some organizations like UM6P SOUL. SOUL means Student Organization Leadership and Engagement. It is one of the divisions at UM6P, which provides innovative and collaborative learning opportunities for students with the aim of engaging students in highly impact activities and services. So there are various divisions at SOUL department in UM6P. One of it is the ISO, which is the International Student Office, which is in charge of affairs regarding international students. So there are various clubs under SOUL, which one of it is ICoRA. The meaning of ICoRA is the International Community for Young Researchers and Innovators in Africa. When you're looking for a student organization, a club that is in charge of research, innovation, you see students at UM6P in this club called ICoRA. So the second club I'm going to introduce to you is the International Student Club, which is a club where you see students from different African countries, international students at UM6P. So the collaborations between SOUL, ISO, ICoRA, and ISC brought about this webinar. Permit me to introduce our first speaker to you. Is Halanda, who is a founder and a previous and the former president of ICoRA. He is a PhD student and assistant lecturer at SAP+D. Is an architect and urban researcher. So today is going to talk about why and what is PhD, the training. It's going to give you some definitions, the expectation, supervision, research institution, including references. So the next person that I'm going to introduce to you is Abdullahi Babatunde, who is a PhD student at Africa Business School at UM6P. He was a master's student at the School of Collective Intelligence. Today is going to tell you about UM6P offers for PhD position. It's going to explain the UM6P research ecosystem and application process. The next I will introduce to you is Yaya Berada. Yaya is a first year PhD student at the School of Collective Intelligence. He is working on scientific decision-making in organization. Today is going to tell you about preparing a research proposal and how you can prepare for interview. The last speaker for tonight is Kaola, who is a PhD student, a third year PhD student at GSM High. She's into mining, engineering, and sustainable field. She's going to talk about other research opportunities, the first step into PhD. She will tell you about an overview of other initiatives and how to get those opportunities. So permit me to invite the first speaker for tonight's presentation. Halanda, thank you.
Thank you, Christiana. I hope you are getting me. Are you
Yes,
hearing
please.
me? Okay,
Yes,
thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction. Good evening to everyone. I hope I think most of the participants are in Africa. So in most countries, we are in the evening. So good evening. As it was said in the introduction, I want to start by giving some key definitions. What is a PhD training and why you should consider or not consider to do it. So as you probably know, but I will just give a simple definition. A PhD is a doctor of philosophy or philosophy doctor. It's an abbreviation from the Latin words, philosophy doctor. It's the highest degree offered by, delivered by high institution and universities all over the world. After the PhD, there is no other degree. It's the highest one. And then there are many forms of a PhD. They are PhD in the sciences. They are PhD it is a little bit different from when they say doctor of medicine. It's different from a PhD, because doctor of medicine is more or less considered as a practice doctorate. It's like someone has practiced all over his studies, and then his peers can guarantee that he has attained mastery in his field. Then they call him a doctor. It's different from a PhD, and it's also different from doctor of literature, or it's PhD has been used more for the sciences field. It's like you have mastered the practice in your science field, then you go to master the philosophy. So of your science. So it's a specialization. Once you are in masters, most of the time you are covering a lot of a subject. PhD, you will going to specialize in one area of your field. In a very small area, you will narrow it down to a very small specific questions or interests that you have. So why should you should not consider to do a PhD? Before I do that, I answer to that question, I would like to ask you, participants, if you can just scan the code, or let me put in the comments. Let me put a link. It will just take it will be very quick. If you can just try to answer this question, this link. Can you see the link? If you can just follow the link, it will be very quick, 2 minutes, maximum 2 minutes, 1 minute. You just answer yes or no from the link, or even you can scan. You can scan here. If you on the presentation, you can use the QR scan. You scan. We do it quickly, and then it will be yes or no. You will just be answering yes or no. The first question is: do you see your professional future in higher education or research? That's the first question. You answer yes or no. Sorry. The second question is: will you be able to devote most of the next 3 to 4 years to the thesis, to your thesis work? Yes or no? The next question, the third question is: are you able to give a fair synthesis of your subject in a short time? Yes or no? The next question: can you, after a minimum of work, write 3 pages that are coherent on a given subject? Yes or no? Are you able to put your ideas in order? Yes or no? Are you able to organize your documentation and find your way around it? Yes or no? Can you impose a work discipline on yourself over several months? Yes or no? Please answer following the link. Answer with me so that we can make it interactive. Do you have enough will and tenacity to overcome a succession of difficulties and setbacks? Yes or no? Have you ever written a satisfactory work of several dozen of pages? I suppose most of you have done or you are writing your master's thesis. So yes or no? Are you very motivated to do a thesis? That's the last question. I give you again some few minutes to respond to those questions, and then we can continue. Just few minutes. All right, very great. I see that most of you who responded to the question started responses were submitted, and most of you, you are 93% yes. To the first question, it was 90%, 90%. To the third, 96, 78. To the can you offer a minimum work of 3? 90%. To the are you able to? Great, great, great. That's a good sign. Okay. That's a good sign. So if you have 8 to 10 years to those 10 questions, you can embark on the adventure of the long thesis work. You can start applying for PhD. That's what it means. But if you only have 4 years or less, you might as well give up right away. We're gonna be honest and say it how it is, what it is. Better to do something else. And we all know, I think if you have some friends who are doing a PhD, we know that it's a very, it's not to intimidate people, but it's very different from masters or bachelors. Masters or bachelors, you have a certain hours, timetable, the curriculum, what you will follow, and the examination. It is very structured. But PhD in most of universities, not only in Africa, but even in developed countries in Europe or America, PhD, you are just there with a supervision committee, mostly 2 to 3 people, 1 to 3 people, who is your supervisor, and then you yourself, who is going there to figure out and develop your research question. So it's very different. So you have really to, those questions, they are very simple. I will recommend you a book later that you can read more about where I found those questions and where you can have more knowledge. So why I'm saying that, why should you consider to do a PhD, or why should you not consider to do it? So some pros and cons. The advantage of doing a PhD, you can do it if you have already a passion for research. You have a curiosity, you understand things, you want to understand more, and you are very good, and you have responded to those questions mostly by yes. And also sometimes it gives career advancement. Most of the time, when you have a PhD, especially in Africa, where in most of fields we don't have advanced research, so you will be like at the pinnacle of your field. So you have more chance to have career advancement very easily. So it is also intellectually challenging. It is linked to the first criteria. If you have passion for research, you will be intellectually challenged, and some people like it. If you are like kind of that person, so you should consider it. And then you will be doing a specialization. Some people find an area either in agriculture, in architecture, in social sciences, and then they want to really go deeper, understand things more. So those are the advantages of doing a PhD. Some cons to consider is time commitment. As I was saying, generally it's 3 to 4 years that you are going to commit. And when you are about to start your PhD, most of the time you are over 23 years old. You are an adult. Other people are going into the corporate world. They are getting money. They are getting they are starting their families. So there is of course, I'm not saying that you cannot start your family when you are starting your PhD, but you should consider that you are going to commit your time. Financial considerations, especially in Africa, most of the PhD programs are not financed. You are just there, you produce work, you work, but you are not paid, and you don't have a scholarship. Fortunately, at UM6P, it's different. That's another reason why you should apply at UM6P. So job market uncertainty. This is kind of a paradox, because I said career advancement, then job market uncertainty. In some field, when you have a PhD, you are overqualified for most of the jobs. Either even if they hire you, they will just hire you for your bachelor's. I know it from first-hand experience, because I have so many friends who finished their PhD in Europe. When they go back to our countries, they're just hired for their masters or for their bachelors, but their PhD is not put to use, is not considered. Also, work-life balance is something you need to consider. Is linked to time management. PhD, you cannot say you will work just 8 hours per day and then go. PhD, you have to commit to it. Sometimes you work during the night, and yeah, it's like you may even forget your work-life balance, unless you are a very organized person. You are a very organized individual. To sum up, and I hope we will have more questions and discussions after this after other speakers have spoken. You can just write your questions, then you can come up. I just want to give some more resources that you can, before you start your PhD, that I consider that is very important to read them. The first, if you are a French speaker, there is a classic book that's called L'Art de la Thèse by Michel Bon. It's a very guide. It's a guide why you should start a PhD and what you should expect. It gives you how to find the supervisor, how to frame your research questions, how to do a research proposal, many things. If you are a French speaker, I really advise you to read this book. Then for English speaker, there is another book, a very interesting book, The Craft of Research by Wayne C. and other writers. Here, they are professors in the US who have managed and tried to write how can you craft research in general, and then they talk about PhDs and even beyond PhD. So there is like a compendium of articles called Living the PhD Journey by Olivier Germain, 2020. And it is, they were fresh PhD graduates, and they were just explaining their PhD journey, the setbacks they encountered, and how they overcome. It's a kind of a story sharing. It can be good to entertain your mind to know what you are going to. Then last but not least, other reference recommendation that I give is Mastering Your PhD is by Patricia Gosling and Bart Nordman. It's a very good book that you should consider if you get admitted. You should consider how you should organize your PhD and how, when you get admitted, this is a book that you should look about. Before I conclude, I would like to talk a little bit about the organization Christiana introduced you, ICoRA. I'm among one of the founding members of ICoRA, and as we partnered with ISC and other organization to organize this this webinar, I would really like to talk about what we do at ICoRA. ICoRA is a non-for-profit organization that is targeting to be in Africa, in many universities in Africa, but at UM6P, we are registered as a student club, but we are looking for other PhD or researchers, innovators, entrepreneurs outside of UM6P and in other African countries, because our aim is to help people network and bridge the gap from research to practice. That's why we said innovation and researchers. Some people are innovators, they have ideas, but they don't know how to look into research and connect the doors. So we want to connect those people. Also mentorship, this kind of thing, this kind of webinar. We want to, like, if for us, we are mentored by postdoc and professors, we would like also to mentor those in the masters and the bachelors, so that we can cultivate that research spirit at the beginning, at the early age. Of course, we want to have an impact in Africa. We have many programs that we try to connect many people from Africa. And then, of course, to form a consortium of experts. That's where, when we have a research project, how can you get collaboration from different universities? Those are the things we heard about. I think you can just, we had just our one of the events where postdoc were talking, giving us the how we should go through our PhD. If you want, you can just scan one of those QR code, either to join, to follow our LinkedIn page or just to join our WhatsApp group, so that we can continue exchanging and see how we can collaborate. So without further ado, I think some people will introduce you to the research. I think the next speaker, the opportunities of doing a PhD at UM6P. I think I will not go into this slide. Thank you. I'm looking forward to exchange with you through questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Alanda, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alanda.
Alanda, can you please grant me control of the slide? I ask for the control.
Okay, you want to
I want
project?
No. I want to. I can access it from yours. Just grant me the access.
Okay,
I
okay,
have to take control.
okay. Let me see it.
If you can't, it's okay. I can just share my screen. That won't be a
Okay,
problem.
you how did you ask it? I'm not reiterating this. Can you do again? Can you ask it again so that I guarantee it?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for approval because I sent it already.
Okay. Just give me a minute. I see. No. Okay, let me just stop sharing so that you can share yourself if it is already
No
open.
problem.
Okay, thank you. You can project now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yeah, you can see it. Try to put in the presenter mode.
Okay.
On the
Is it better now?
yeah, it's okay because you are using the online version. It may take some time, but it's okay. Just go through it. Continue to your slide. Continue to your slides, or is it blocking?
It's not moving anymore. Guys,
Just
hold on, please.
just go to your slide, then you open from your slide. Look, let me project, then I will be just moving slides for you.
All right,
Is
no
that
problem.
okay?
Then. No problem. It's fine.
Stop projecting, then I project.
Sure.
Can you see it?
Yeah, sure.
Just go in the presenter mode. You will be just saying next, I will be moving. Is it okay?
All right, fine, thanks.
Okay, go on.
So, hello everyone. It's nice to be here once again. For me, I believe this is the little I could do to give back to the community as a whole. So, I'm really glad to be here with every one of us to share my little knowledge about this process. And so far, Alanda has actually did a great work by putting us through what PhD is and why should we or why should we not enroll for a PhD program. Um, what I will start with is one word from one of my professors recently, who said that he asked a question: if we know why majority of people quit their PhD. So we said we don't know. But then he gave us the idea that the reason why most people quit their PhD program is not because they don't have the academic wherewithal to survive. But then the problem is they could not undo no. Because with PhD comes a lot of no. I mean, you write a proposal, your supervisor say no. You write, you have some works to do. You submit an abstract, you heard no. You submit your paper for publication, you have majority of no's. And even before you get to the publication stage, you have a lot of no's from your supervisor. So this is the first thing that a lot of people cannot undo. And just like Alanda said earlier, if those questions you have answered, you have below 40 or below 4 years, I think it's a great one. It is the best advice for you not to try a PhD. That is the sincere advice. Uh, while not, while I won't try to waste our time any further, I will dwell into the process of application as far as African Business School is concerned. I would like to state here that majority of the PhD program in UM6P have almost the same application procedure. However, there are some uniqueness to some departments. So I would say that by now, an individual who is seeking to apply in a particular department will have gone through the school website and checked some of the things. But the reason why I'm going to be doing this is there are some things you may not be able to find online when you search, or there are some points that I need to reiterate as well. So Alanda, let's move on. So as far as ABS is concerned, if you're applying for a PhD program at ABS, we have 7 research clusters. And if you will be applying here, you need to look into these 7 clusters. So the first one is organization, behavior, and management. Sorry, forgive me, I didn't mention the fact that the African Business School, ABS simply means the African Business School. So, and as such, most PhD programs are related to business and management. So in essence, these research clusters involve 7 as far as we have now currently. Maybe it might change in the nearest future, I don't know. But currently, there are 7 research clusters which involve organization, behavior, and leadership, marketing, finance, business economics, strategic management, entrepreneurship and innovation, business analytics, and network value. Now, of these 7 research clusters, they are also categorized into 3 research teams. What do we mean? Would be if you want to submit part of your document, one of them is your research proposal, which I wouldn't dwell much on. You want to focus on one of the clusters, and the things is giving you the idea of, even if you're picking a cluster, the team of your proposal should belong to one of these 3 research teams, which are sustainability, digital transformation, and complexity. So if you're picking a particular cluster, your research proposal should also focus on one of the 3 things. So let's move on, Alanda.
Try to move. I gave you the permission. Try to move to see if it works. Try to just do next. Is it moving?
Okay, yeah, I think it moves.
Okay, great.
So now I'm going to talk as regards the application stages. So as far as the application procedure is concerned, we have 4 main stages. The first one is the online application. The second one is the interview. The second one is the online test. The third one is the interview. And the last one is the research assignment. So for the online application, let's start with that. So what do we need? This stage is as much important as any other stage. In fact, I would say that this is the most important of all the stages. Why? Because this will give you the chance to even get it will give you the chance to even get your document screened, or given the chance for you to be considered at all. So you want to put a lot of energy in this stage. So, and what does this stage involve? It involves majorly documentation. I mean, the process of filling your name is nothing really, but the process of documentation is what you need to be very careful about. So what are the processes? What are the things that are required of you? So the first one is, Alana, probably, I think you will need to continue because it's no longer. Okay. So the documentations, as far as you need, these are the most important of the documentations. We have 7 of them. So the first one is your academic CV. Now, a little bit of talk as regards your academic CV. This is not an application for a job whereby you will be expected to submit a 1-page CV. No. Your CV, your academic CV should contain details of your your experience, publication, if any form of academics that could project you as someone with strong research background should be on that CV. Because now this is something to speak for you when you are not around. Your CV is there to speak for you when you are not there. So you want to put in a lot of effort in your CV as well. Then the second one is your certificate. Your certificate as regards your bachelor's degree and your master's degree. So as far as PhD application is concerned at ABS, you need to have your master's degree and your bachelor's degree. Unlike some schools in maybe the US, whereby you can apply for a PhD program with your bachelor's degree, here you need to have a master's degree. So you will be submitting both certificate. Then also your academic transcript, both for your master's and your bachelor's degree. Then the statement of purpose. Now, another place where you need to put in a lot of effort. Now, and what do I mean by a lot of effort? Earlier, I stated the research clusters that we have here. So having identified the research clusters, you want to display in your statement of purpose that my focus is as regards this cluster, and this is why I want to study in this cluster. This is why it is important. This research I'm going to be carrying out is important, and why. Also, in your statement of purpose, you want to identify some professors that are in these clusters that you think you could collaborate with. It is equally important that when you go through the website, the school website, you go through the profile or some of the professors that could align in your own field of research or your research interest. So in your statement of purpose, you want to nail those professors. You want to tell them that, yes, I want to work with you because you are working in something that aligns with mine, and not just stating that, okay, Professor so is I read Professor so articles titled this. No, because yes, they know the title of the article, but you want to state that, okay, I read an article by this professor, but I think this thing could be an additional value, or I think this thing is missing. Maybe if we collaborate, I could explain this further. So this is a kind of bait for the professors to see, okay, maybe I can work with this person. So that is for your research proposal. Then we also have the written document. The written document is mostly requested in terms of if you have any publication. However, like myself, I don't have any publication when I applied. So what I did was to submit my master's thesis. So this could be a sample of your written document. Another reason, if you're a master student at the moment, this is for you to know why you should put in a lot of effort with your master's thesis, because it could pave way for you in some places. I mean, even after I got admitted into the program, I still have reasons to send my research proposals to some of my supervisors. So you want to put in effort with your research written document. I mean, your master's thesis as well. So, and if you have any publication already, of course, you can submit it as a written document. Then your research proposal. This is equally an important part of your document. The research proposal will involve um, writing about an idea that you have that you wish to pursue. So I won't really dwell much on that, since the next speaker will talk about how to write a research proposal. So this is equally important. The last one, the letter of recommendations, academic recommendations. This is a PhD program. You don't want to ask someone, maybe your boss somewhere, to write you a recommendation letter. Here, if you check the school website, you find out that it is not a compulsory item, but it is required. But one thing about application procedure is you don't even know what will pave way for you and what will down your application. So you want to put in your best in every document that you submit. So your letter of recommendation should be coming from professors that know your ability and that can put in words for you in terms of your research. Not just, I have known Mr. A for a certain number of years, I think he is the best candidate for this position. No, let them write about you in terms of your research ability, because this is what the PhD is all about anyway. You want your the admission team to see that, yes, you have the academic wherewithal, you have the strength to carry out a research. So this is one of the things. Now let's move to the second stage. For the second stage, the online test. So I'm going to be saying here as well, this is equally another vital stage of the application. It involves 5 tests, and it is time 67 minutes. Immediately you got through the first stage, you'll be sent a mail telling you, okay, you have been proceed to the next stage, and the next stage contains this. So what are the 5 tests? So the idea is, this test is on a particular platform that is called Test Gorilla. If you are conversant with YouTube very well, you kind of see some prompt about Test Gorilla. So this platform has been affiliated with for this online test. And we have 3 essay tests that have been programmed by the school. These essay tests are the ones that are basically designed by the school, and the remaining 2 involve some tests. So those tests are logic. We equally have sitting arrangement. There are some questions that, as regards sitting arrangement, you find of questions like Mr. A is sitting next to Mr. B, but close to opposite of Mr. C, then behind Mr. A. So you kind of find something like that. Then, like I said earlier, essays as well. Then you also have attention to details. For example, you could be asked to read some sentences, and they ask you to look at another sentence of the same. Then they ask you, I mean, what are the things that are different between these 2 sentences? Maybe in terms of comma, maybe in terms of punctuation mark, maybe in terms of spellings. Here, what they are just trying to test is your attention to details. So you want to be very careful with that. Then also we have syllogism. So here they ask you questions like argument and conclusions. So you have been provided with some statement, and they ask you to deduce a conclusion based on this statement. So for me, when I was preparing for my test, I use a particular platform that is called Career Ride. You can access this on YouTube. Career Ride is treat a lot of all these things. If you look at it to prepare for your test, I think it will be a great one for you. So moving on to the 3rd stage, which is the interview stage. So this is equally a very strong one of the process, where you want to put in your best as well. I mean, here is where you convince your proposed supervisor that, yes, I can work with you, because eventually you'll be interviewed by someone who is interested in you. I mean, you already identified a research cluster. You have written your research proposal. In your statement of purpose, you mentioned some professors. So potentially, some people that will be interviewing you will be those names that you have highlighted, or eventually someone that have seen your work and is really interested in what you do. So this is where you want to convince that, yes, I am fit for this position. So you'll be interviewed by 2 to 3 faculty members, at times 2, but you could have up to 3 individuals. So what do you need to do for this stage? So like I said, it will be based on the research clusters that you have highlighted, maybe strategic management, maybe finance, maybe marketing. So the interviewer will actually be someone who is in this research cluster. Also, you want to read again your motivation letter. I mean, the application process is a long one, span for 2 to 3 months. So maybe you submitted your motivation letter in, normally the application process should have opened by now, as far as ABS is concerned. Some departments have opened theirs presently, like the School of Collective Intelligence application is open for now. Some other department as well, but as far as ABS is concerned, it is not yet open. I think by this month it will be open, hopefully. So you want to go through again your motivation letter. So look at what you have written in it. As individuals, we apply for a lot of programs. So maybe you want to be sure what you have applied for, why you have applied for it, and to get yourself prepared. Read your motivation letter again. Then another thing is, when you get your mail for the interview, the mail will state these professors will interview you. So giving you an idea of what you do. So if they have given you the names of the professor, why not go online, search for the professors, look for their publications, read about them, about their interests. So you want to convince them that, yes, I know what you do and I can add value. So this is, like I said, this is about selling yourself. So then, if you can prepare a slide for this interview, don't let it be like, okay, you have an interview and you just join the meeting and they start firing you with questions. Let them know that you are prepared. In my case, I prepared a slide about my research proposal. So I've written my research proposal for real, but I want them to know that, yes, I know what I have written and I can even develop it further. So I developed a slide for my to discuss my proposal. So it gave me a frame of, I was in control of the session. It's not like they were asking me questions one after the other. No, I had my presentation and the the whole question I got was about my research proposal. So you see what I mean? So if you develop a slide and they ask you a question as regards the slide, you will be, I mean, it will be much more easier for you than asking you questions in terms of generic questions, asking you about the PhD program or asking you something that you might not even have come across. But if you have prepared a slide, you talk about something you know more, and it gives you the chance to talk more about yourself and about your research. So selling yourself again. So then moving on, I think to the last point, like I said, you want to reach the major questions will be about your research proposals, like why have you picked this topic and why do you think it is important to study this? So you want to convince. So then, like I said, if you prepare the slide, you want to show them that yes, I have passion for research. I want to do a PhD because I want to be called a doctor. No, I have passion for research. I want to learn. I want to impact. So this is what you want to show. So moving on to the last stage. This last stage is not even for all the students. Like I said, if at the third stage you are really convincing enough, I mean, you don't have to go to the fourth stage. But as far as I know, more than 80% of us during my research assignment. And what does this entails? This research assignment entails a paper critique. Now, you'll be asked to criticize a given research work. And one mistake that majority of people do, maybe I do as well before my program, is that when you're asked to criticize a work, what we do is we look for the shortcomings of the work. No. When you're asked to criticize the work, it could equally be a positive criticism in terms of what are the strengths of this paper that you have and how can it be developed further. You just don't criticize the work saying, okay, the researcher did not do this. They're talking about strategic management, but they should have talked about marketing. No. So you want to show that the paper critique that you're going to be giving, they want to see that, okay, you are able to do some critiques about scholarly work, because in the very end, you will also ask to criticize the works of your colleague, while people will also criticize your own work as well. So the essence of the paper critique. So also, in the paper critique, you'll be asked to deduce argument. In my own case, I have a particular paper and I was asked 3 questions. The first question was for me to state the argument, provided the argument and the result. I was asked to provide what were the argument, the main argument, and the result of the paper. You know, you could easily find the result of some scholarly work, but for you to find the argument, the main argument of the paper, at times it could be challenging. And one thing that I also want to talk about is the fact that, just like Alana talked about earlier, that research, I mean, PhD program, it has to do with you dedicating your time. I mean, after I got to the research assignment stage, I had my interview on a Friday. And on that day, I was told that I will be given a research assignment, which would take me 24 hours to complete. That means I'm going to send the response in 24 hours. As a Friday, someone who is just coming in, I sent a mail after the interview because I saw the research paper and I was like, wow, I need to finish this in 24 hours. So I sent a mail back to the professors asking them that, okay, Prof, today is Friday. I think the next 24 hours should be in Monday, right? I received the shock of my life. I got the response saying, in PhD, we work 24/7. In academia, we work 24/7, meaning I am expected to send my response on Saturday. And even up to now, I respond to my supervisors on Saturdays or Sundays. So if you're thinking that, okay, it is okay, I think PhD, you can only work on Monday to Friday, then you can chill during the weekend. No, you are going to work 24/7, and that is PhD. Of course, you need to carve your own freedom yourself. You need to find the time where you enjoy yourself. This will be done by yourself, not within the program, or there'll be a specification telling you that, okay, this is the time you need to spend to enjoy. No. So you need to do that for yourself. So as far as this research assignment is concerned, like I said earlier, you'll be asked to deduce argument, then provide counter argument based on the argument that you have deduced. What do you think can be done better? Then they want to test your ability to interpret. So can you interpret graph? Can you interpret results? what can you say about result of some studies? And this is where I'm going to stop. I'm going to I'll be open to questions after the whole presentation, and I'm going to leave you with my dear friend Yaya from the School of Collective Intelligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Babatunde, for your exposition. We are grateful. So next we'll move to Yaya, who will talk about research proposal and anything that's related to that. Thank you, Yaya.
Thanks, Samuel, and thanks, Abdullahi. This was a great presentation. First of all, it's great to see that so many of you joined us today, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of you join us as PhD students next year. Am I allowed to share my screen so that I can have control over the slides, please? Okay. Perfect, thanks. So today I'm going to be discussing the main elements that should go into your research proposal when you're applying for, oh wow, and then the lights just turn off. Let me try turning the lights back on. Yeah, sorry. I definitely didn't plan that dramatic entrance, but yeah, I'm going to be talking about the research proposal and the main elements that should go in there. First of all, it's starts with the scope. Then if the slides want to cooperate, there we go. We have the research problems and hypotheses. Then I'll be talking about the theoretical field of investigation. And finally, the potential benefits to UM6P, Morocco, or Africa. Now, just to make sure you clearly get this, these are the required elements that should go into your research proposal when you're applying for UM6P. And when I looked it up, I think it's across all departments, you know, give or take. Some departments ask for more stuff, but this is the main stuff that they ask for. And if you're applying for a PhD in other places, it might be the case that they ask for different stuff. But, you know, overall, this is the, can we get the slides? Yeah, these are the main elements that you would normally expect to see. Now let's start with the scope. So your scope is simply what you intend to do during your PhD and during your research. So you need to state very clearly and specifically what you are expected to do during your PhD and what your research is going to lead to, and also explain the background, but just make sure you set specific boundaries so that if I read your scope section of your research proposal, I can clearly see what you're trying to do and what you're not trying to do. And that sounds like a pretty simple task, but trust me, sometimes if you're somewhat of an overthinker, like we can all be sometimes very sadly, you can overcomplicate stuff and you start using fancy words or whatever, and you know your scope section just sounds very weird. So just please try to make it sound pretty simple and specific, and set specific boundaries so that any reader can very easily understand what you're trying to do and what your research objectives are. Now, what you do want to avoid doing is the following. It is being overreaching. Now, what do I mean by overreaching? I mean, let's take my example. I'm working on scientific decision-making in organizations. If I say that in my scope section that my research, one day we will discover the cure to cancer. That's, you know, that's slightly overreaching. Some would argue that it's very overreaching. But yeah, don't do that, please. Just say very simply what your research intends to do, its objectives, without trying to oversell it. Don't make it sound like your research is going to be, I don't know, something that's going to completely revise how humans live. Yeah, and avoid being vague, be very specific. Now, well, you'd probably noticed at this point that this presentation is very informal, but I'm just trying to give you advice based on my personal experience and my own research proposal that I just read again, and I found that I made those mistakes. So I'm trying to give you advice based on my own mistakes. Now, to talk about the research problems and hypotheses, I think that most of you understand what a research problem is and a hypothesis are. So what I wanted to do is just give you examples of what a decent research problem would look like. I chose this topic. This is not my current topic, but I just to give you an idea of what it might look like. And a good research problem might be asking the question, how does cognitive diversity within executive teams impact decision-making effectiveness in multinational corporations? Now, as you can see, I highlighted 3 elements in this research problem. The first one is cognitive diversity. In this case, it is what I'm trying to manipulate, or the independence variable. And then decision-making effectiveness is the output, the outcome, or the dependence variable. So what's going to change when I manipulate the independence variable? And then multinational corporations is my target population. You want to have these 3 elements very clearly stated in your research problem, so that it is clear to other people who have no idea what you're trying to do just by reading your research problem, what you intend to do in a very global way. And you can clearly see that these elements are pretty abstract. Cognitive diversity is a pretty abstract term. I didn't use manifest variables, but that's completely fine because it's just a research problem. And then let's move on to the hypothesis. Same thing here. It looks like it's a lot of text, but it has to be because you're trying to be specific. You're trying to make specific hypotheses. In this case, I stated that executive teams with high cognitive diversity exhibit better decision-making effectiveness as evidenced by more innovative solutions and improved financial performance compared to teams with low cognitive diversity. Here, I already stated what my treatment group and my control group is. The high cognitive diversity group is the treatment, and then the control is the low cognitive diversity. Again, I made very clear statements. I'm saying that I predict that there is a positive relationship between cognitive diversity in teams and decision-making effectiveness, and I'm explaining why. I'm explaining that it's going to be evidenced by more innovative solutions and improved financial performance. Then another hypothesis, might be the positive impacts of cognitive diversity on decision-making is moderated by factors such as the team's communication style, conflict resolution strategies, and organizational culture. Again, just being very specific and using very simple terms. You have a very clear independence variable, which is cognitive diversity. Dependence variable is decision-making effectiveness, and some other variables like communication style, conflict resolution strategies, and organizational culture. You might again notice that these are pretty abstract terms, but it's completely fine. You manifest variables in your predictions. If you are making predictions, but in the hypothesis, it's completely fine if you use, because this is a hypothesis for work that you're going to be working on for 3 to 4 years. So you're not expected to have a very clear manifest variable or a very clear study. A single manifest variable is going to say that you expect this much change in this, etc. Now I'll just very quickly move on to the theoretical field of investigation. Now, what you want to do here is articulate the field and theories that your research relies upon. And what I mean by that is, for example, let's go back to the case of this research problem. In the case of this research problem, there are some pretty clear fields that this is going to rely upon. Cognitive science be one of them. Decision theory could be another, and then organizational behavior. So you need to discuss these 3 fields. You need to talk about some of the main theories in the fields that maybe inspired your research problem and your research idea, and also your hypothesis. You need to make that link clear if, of course, there is literature existing on the field, which there probably is. I mean, at this point, you can find articles on whatever topic you might think of. So you'll probably find some theories that are very relevant to the work that you're trying to do. And your job here in this section is to try to connect your work to the stuff that has already been done in the research or that's already present in the literature. What you also want to do is this, which is basically what I just said. Sorry for being redundant, but you want to explain how the field and its theories will guide your research, especially when it comes to the methods that you're using and how you research. You're doing research, So whatever you do should contribute to something that's already existing. Otherwise, there is no point in doing your research. So that's one thing. And then I'm going to move very quickly to the potential benefits to UM6P, Morocco, and Africa. That's the last section that you have to write for your research proposal. Now, obviously, UM6P and Morocco is going to be investing money in you and resources. So they do want to get some of that money back because that's how things work in life. So that's why they ask you to come up with this section. And in this section, what I would advise is that you clearly explain what makes your research relevant and impactful, considering the context. And what I mean by the context is the Moroccan and African context. You can look up, there are some very clear problems that we have in Morocco and Africa, like food security, climate change, water management. We have a lot of problems. Just go find one and try to link it to your research proposal, and make sure that your research proposal is relevant and it's going to create positive impacts in that specific domain and help solve that problem. I think that's something that's very important to do. Just generally try to think of how can UM6P, Morocco, and Africa benefit from your research, and state it very simply. Again, don't try to be overreaching. Don't say that your research proposal is going to fix climate change in Africa. It's probably not true. So you don't have to say that. Just be humble about it. And then let's move on to the interview phase. As my dear friend Abdullah said earlier, I think it's a very good idea to prepare some slides because, as he said, you have the lead and you start leading the people that are interviewing you to the places that you want instead of them leading the conversation. So if you can prepare some slides, but only to illustrate your ideas, you don't want to copy and paste your research proposal into the slides. It's probably not the best idea. Just try to use some illustrations using, basing it on the content that you already have on the research proposal. So the content is already there because you probably spent a lot of time on the research proposal. Now you just need to turn it into some, cool looking visuals to try to illustrate the ideas that you have and to, explain it to the interviewing committee. A very good idea, again, Abdullah already mentioned this, but I'll just reiterate it. It's generally a good idea to look up the professors that are going to be part of your PhD interviewing committee. It's a good idea to know the work that they already did and the interests that they have, and try to see how your interest connects with them. You can also sometimes, if you see that the work that they already did, you can predict some questions that they might ask you, and you can be more prepared to answer those questions. Now, the second tip is connected to what I just said. It's practice critiquing and questioning your own proposal and presentation. People are going to critique your research proposal and your presentation. The people in your PhD committee, they're pretty good scientists. They're really good, so they can come up with critiques in a very easy way. They will not find it hard to come up with critiques to your work. So that's why it's a good exercise for you to try to think beforehand of those critiques so that you can be more ready when they come up and you don't act like you have no idea what they're talking about. That's generally a good piece of advice. And again, this is linked to the critiques. You need to, it's hard sometimes, but you need to acknowledge the limitations and weaknesses of your research. Your research is probably not perfect. I know that mine is far from perfect, and you need to acknowledge that, because if you don't acknowledge it, the PhD researchers, they're going to acknowledge it. And it's not really a good look if they tell you, oh, this is a clear limitation to your research and you don't know what to respond. If you already are aware of the limitations, you probably already have some sort of idea of how to respond to the critiques. And so if it does come up, you can find your way through it. But if you didn't think through it, then you could just say, well, that's a very good point, and that is a limitation of my research, and this is exactly why I want to work with you, because able to overcome those limitations. I don't know, try to sell yourself. And I think this is one of the last points. Focus on explaining why you are interested in the research you proposed and what makes you a great candidate. And I put you in bold here. And I know this sounds cheesy, but you really need to, make it personal and explain why you as a person, your personality, your skills, and everything about you makes you a great candidate for this specific research proposal. Now, I think that's it, but I hope, I just want to say this, I hope that by this point, you're not completely disgusted by the idea of doing a PhD, but just in case you are, my dear friend Khawla will talk about other career paths that you can follow beyond the PhD. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Yaya, for this exciting insight on the research proposal and all that things to do with it. So we will now move to Kaula, who will talk about career paths beyond PhD. Thank you, Kaula.
So good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here today to share visions into the different career paths available to those with a master's or an engineering degree. I have been in your place, so I understand the excitement and the uncertainty that you're feeling. So let's start on this exploration together. So firstly, I would like to congratulate you for your achievement. Completing a master's degree in research is not a small thing. It shows your dedication and perseverance. So congratulations again. Now let's dive into the career opportunities waiting for you. So you can be a research associate or a research assistant. This role allows you to be at the lead of the latest trends in research, collaborate with esteemed scholars, and contribute to new discoveries. As a research associate or a research assistant, you will engage in different tasks from data collection and analysis to literature reviews and report writing. So you can choose to be a data analyst or a scientist. In an era of data, your analytical powers is invaluable. As a data analyst or a scientist, you will solve complex databases, extract deep conclusions, and translate them into real strategies for organizations across diverse industries. So you can choose to be a policy analyst if you are passionate about effecting change at a universal level. As a policy analyst, you will use your research skills that you learned from your master's education to inform policy development, evaluate its impact, and advocate for evidence-based solutions to pressing societal challenges. So you can be a market research analyst. So this role allows you to study the consumer behavior very simply. Market trends, you will help industries to make informed decisions. You can be a project manager if you pay attention to details, if you can really find what you want in what you have. This job is for you. So you will need to supervise research projects or direct organizational initiatives. So you can be a teacher. Well, teaching, I think, is clear. As a teacher, you will have the ability to pass your knowledge to the next generation. You can be a consultant. You can be a consultant in your own startup or work with an enterprise. You just need the ability to understand challenges, find solutions, and make change in your field. You can be a science writer or a communicator. Bridging the gap between academia and public sphere, you will be a storyteller of science. You can tell science in an easy way that will make it understandable by the public. With captivating stories and engaging content, you will tell the wonders of research, sparking curiosity and promoting understanding. And finally, you can choose to be an entrepreneur. You can use what you learned in your education to make your own startup. You are now armed with ideas and with an entrepreneurial spirit. So you will plan new territories, you will forge your path towards innovation and impact. So as you contemplate these diverse pathways, remember that your journey is yours to shape. Embrace curiosity, seize opportunities, and dare to dream big. So I'm going to be a little bit more positive than my colleagues. So your master's or your engineering degree in research is not just a diploma, it's a ticket to a world of possibilities. In closing, I encourage you to embark on this journey with courage and conviction. Embrace the unknown because it's where lies the adventure. As you navigate the path of academia and industry, may your passion be your drive and your curiosity be your guide. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Kaola, for this exciting career path beyond PhD. So first of all, we thank all our speakers for their interventions. So we'd like to first of all tackle the question before they give us their final words. So there was a question about, has ABS opened applications for the PhD program? But I think Babatunde can give us feedback on that question.
Yeah, Samuel, I think I answered majority of the questions we have in the chat. I think I answered majority of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody asked a question about, should the CV be detailed? I think that question is not yet answered.
Okay, about the CV, I think I mentioned about that. An academic CV, you can go as, I have seen an academic CV of 10 pages, honestly, because what you, just note that what you're putting in your academic CV is something that is showing you as someone with interest in research. So I am not writing about, I am applying for a PhD position and I'm saying that, okay, I have experience in cooking or something like this. So what's the need? So you want to put something that are relevant to the position that you're applying for, teaching experience, publications, if any, and some things like that. So you could have your academic CV well detailed. Yeah.
Okay, somebody was asking another question about, is there a difference between statement of purpose and cover letter?
Well, in this context, it is the same thing. In this context, it's the same thing.
Okay, thank you. I think this next question, Alanda can help us answer it. Can someone apply a direct PhD with just its undergraduate degree?
There are some universities where they prefer starting from masters to PhD. It's like a 5-year program in most countries. Some countries, not most countries, especially in the US or North America in general, where you can apply with just a bachelor, and then you will do your masters of philosophy, and then you continue with PhD. But in most African countries, they require to have masters before you can masters or engineering degree or architecture degree, engineering degree or masters. Then from that you can apply for PhD. But in America, in Canada, and some countries in Europe, there are some programs where with a bachelor you can just apply into a 5-year program where you do a master's of philosophy and then a PhD. So there are some, yeah, it is possible. but not at UM6P. At UM6P, it is required to have a PhD or an engineering or architecture degree.
Okay, thank you. Somebody is asking a question. In the case where subject is proposed by a professor, the question is, does academic results in bachelor and master's influence your application? If so, what are the minimum marks?
Of course. Or you are, that's why you give a CV, and they also ask among the documents. I think Yahya described told you about the documents that are required. About the documents, they also require transcripts of records. So they see about your academic performance. So bachelor, masters, they look all of that. And then the minimum marks, it really depends on the program. Some program focus on undergraduate and the graduate transcript marks you got, and also consider the experience if you have published or if you have worked in a corporate world. So they consider of those. There isn't really minimum. Just be bold and propose research. But you should at least have, I think, middle what, at least satisfaction, around 70% in most of the universities.
Okay, that's great. So, for example, Abdelali, you know about the English system. So if somebody is having maybe something like third class, can the person?
Okay, what I would say is, there are some things that put us in good shape, apart from, just like Khawla has explained, some things that we could do if we are not focusing on PhD. So, for example, now an individual who has a third class or even a 2-2, I mean, some things that you can do that will put you in a good shape includes having experience in research. For example, maybe you interned as a research assistant, or you work as a data analyst on some project. So these are something that could project you as an individual who has, the research background.